This is Andreas with Nothing But Tablets, and welcome to episode 2 of the iPad screencast. Last week, Tap Save for the iPad came out, and I did a video showing you how you can scan documents from paper and into Tap Save. That's something that I've been doing for a year and a half or so now with paper documents, and it's a very useful thing to have both for students and a lot of other people, just to have it around their office and things like that, because it's a quick way to get paper onto the iPad. And I've also been taking those scans and annotating them and then saving those as PDF files. So I thought I should dedicate this episode to showing you how you can do this on a more generic level, not specifically for Save, because there's actually a bit of difference in how you do it, and also I didn't show the other apps in the other videos. So first off, I'm using an app called Scanner Pro, and the reason why this video is in portrait mode is that half of it's going to be in this app, which is unfortunately only an iPhone app. The reason why it's more clearer on my screen than you'd normally see on an iPhone app is because mine's jailbroken, so it's using the iPhone 4S resolution version of the app. But Scanner Pro is basically my favorite app for doing this, and Scanner Pro is an app that takes images of text documents, paper documents, and adjusts the contrast, crop, and all that sort of thing to make it look more like something you actually fed into a normal scanner. So this plus button down here will basically create a new project, or a new document rather. You have different choices here, basically two for adding a page, either from the camera or photos. First of all, I have an iPad 2, and the camera on the iPad 2 is so extremely bad that the camera is basically not an option to get the images of the documents on the iPad 2. It is on the iPad 3 though, and I can't show you how the camera even works because that will crash the screen recording app. But that is pretty self-explanatory. You basically take a picture of the documents. The alternative is what I've been doing, which is using a dedicated standalone digital camera, basically one of those point and shoot cameras, as well as the Apple camera connection kit. The camera connection kit allows you to connect either your camera directly, or, as I've been doing, just the memory card to your iPad and then transfer photos over. So I just went in and found a picture of a document that I took a picture of ages ago, and that brings me to this screen where this is basically where the camera option and the import option sort of merge. So if once you've either imported a image using the camera connection kit or taken one using the camera, you get to this screen. And as you can see now, the document is the wrong way, so I'm going to hit rotate and rotate it to the right. And now I have these 4 blue pins that I can grab, and using this magnification thing I can select the 4 corners of the document. You can see that it tries to auto detect them, but sometimes it's completely off, or sometimes you just want to adjust it slightly. You can also basically crop the text, just the text, and get rid of some blank space here if you want to. In settings, you basically have processing type and color mode, whether or not you want to process a photo or a document, and color, grayscale, or black and white. I tend to use document and grayscale when I want to have documents scanned, like what I'm doing now. So once you have all of that set up, you just hit process, and it goes through the document, crops it, and makes all these adjustments. and the result is pretty immediate and pretty easy to see. You wouldn't even guess that this is the same image file that was visible on screen just 5 seconds ago. Once you've done that, you can also sort of do manual adjustments, but and the reason why I actually use Scanner Pro is that I've tried many of these apps, and Scanner Pro is the one that seems to have the best results, but your mileage might vary on that one. Once you've done that, you click Done, and then you either add more pages, or if it's just that one page, then you're basically done. If you do it using the camera, you can take multiple pictures and then process all of them at once. If you import them, you have to do it one page at a time, so basically you go back into your imported photos, and you find a completely different page, and then you basically do the exact same thing again, and then it just adds another page to the document. You can even click edit, and then you have the ability to rearrange the pages just in case you scan them in the wrong order or something like that. So once all of that is done, you have a few different options for how you want to what you want to do with the document. If you just wanted to have the document for another computer or something, then perhaps you want to email it. I don't want to email it, however. You can also upload it, Google Documents, Evernote, Dropbox, or iDisk WebDAV. That should have you pretty much covered as far as cloud services is concerned. At least you have the most common ones. Integration with Evernote is nice because, well, you could theoretically use this to actually do notes on paper and just scan the notes. But what I've been using the most is, well, by the way, Actions, you also have the ability to print and fax, add password. But this last one called Opening, that's what I've been using. And this allows you to open the documents locally into another app. So this is basically the point at where my Taposay video differs from what I'm doing now, because in Taposay it wouldn't show up in this list, so I had to send it via email. But this time I'm going to open it in my most used note-taking app, which is GoodNotes. That will basically close the old app, send the file over to the new app, and open that. So it's very simple and very quick. In my opinion, it's quicker than actually what you do on a PC with saving it and then finding it again. So it asked me, is this a scanned document? Scan PDF minimization will improve rendering speed by lowering the resolution of images. So I'm just going to say don't optimize, because I know that takes a few seconds and I'm not going to spend time on it. So it just adds itself along with all these other documents, and I could have changed the name of the documents before I left Scanner Pro. This is GoodNotes, so it's going to be a bit different compared to, for instance, GoodNotes Plus or something like that, but the concept is the same. So what I've been doing is that right now I'm using a Capacitive Stylus. You've seen me in this app recently using the iPad, but I didn't think that was really relevant for this app, since it's a $100 accessory. But what I've been doing is I've been using the Magnification Mode in GoodNotes with a Capacitive Stylus, and as you might have discovered, even a Capacitive Stylus is fairly inaccurate compared to paper. So how on earth are we going to sort of write on the same level as this machine, text font size 12 or 14 or something like that? If you just try to do it directly, then you're basically going to have very much difficulty trying to get it small enough. So that's where this magnification mode comes in. So you can see now that I have this field down at the bottom and also this blue box on top, and this blue box basically controls what the bottom box is a magnification of. So if I place it just at the end of this, I can see the last letter. Then I can just write big letters and say hello world. And then it will shrink that down, and you can see that it's much more accurate up here. It's a bit difficult for me to do this right now because the screencast application adds a touch pointer on top of the screen, so basically I can't see what I'm doing almost. But if I put the iPad down on a table and just see what I'm doing, then I can write actually fairly quickly. And I'm just going to write a sentence now, and just pay attention to how it automatically moves as I come to the end of the box and then start all over again. So how much would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? So my handwriting isn't exactly the best, and right now I'm actually sitting upright and holding the iPad in my hand, so normally I would put it down on the table. But you can see that compared to just trying to do this without the magnification mode, it just a completely other and different level of accuracy. And also it's possible to write fairly quickly with this method because of the auto advance feature. Basically, when you come to the end, you just continue from the start and it automatically makes the adjustments. So that's just what I've been doing in terms of handwriting. You could also want to annotate this document using text, and unfortunately GoodNotes doesn't have that ability, but essentially the apps that do just have another tool up here that allows you to add text to this. But it does, for instance, have a highlighter. Let me just select something here so I could like proofread something, or said if I'm a teacher I can go like this, just deactivate the magnification mode, go down here and say that this has to be rewritten, or something like that. You get the point. You have different colors and all sorts of things. And depending on the note-taking app, I think you can also you can't do it here, but some apps actually allow you to insert web pages and images and all sorts of things directly in the app, which is fairly nice and can come in handy. But I've done this for probably hundreds of documents by now. The ones you saw at the start were just some of them. So once you're done with all your annotations, for instance, if you're reviewing something or whatever, I'm just going to go back to the library, and let's see if I remember how to do this. I just selected it, export, and then I have this external apps. In Scanner Pro it was called Open. In here it's just called external apps, but it's the same thing. And basically now I'm done annotating the documents, and I'm just going to move it to the next app. I'm going to select PDF, backgrounds and notes, and then what do I want to do with it? I want to put it in GoodReader. GoodReader is basically an application that allows me to better manage all my documents that are, well, for the most part read only. So I have actually several old documents open in tabs. So what I basically did now was I took a scan or I took an image of a paper document, improved it so it's much more easier to read. I imported it into GoodNotes, annotated it, and then moved it further into GoodReader. And also, if I just go back to GoodNotes, I have the ability to send it by email. So you're a student, you just had your students just had a test, and you have all these papers to grade, and you just put all of them on your iPad, and you do it like you would on paper, and you just email it back to them. I mean, that's what it's like to be an educator in 2012. So that's just using one set of applications, but I could go back to Scanner Pro and start the entire process all over again in, for instance, Notes Plus. And then you have a whole different set of tools. So I don't know what apps you want to use for this, but the concepts are basically the same across all of them. You scan, you open in another app, and you annotate, and then you jump between apps like that. It takes some getting used to, but in the end it's worth it, because suddenly you're carrying around a 600 or 700 if you have the new one gram iPad instead of 12 kilos of paper. So hopefully that's been useful, and I will see you later. Thank you for watching.